Karen Bonafilio, Inner Realms, Outer Journeys. Guess what? First of all, thank you for tuning into my channel. And I have two special guests today. You've probably seen both of them. One is Susan Grayson, and the other is Dawn Rumer Rivera. And I'm going to have them introduce themselves. And then we're going to have a little chat about something that's been going on between the two of them.
Okay.
So, Susan, would you like to start and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Susan Grayson, psychic medium, and this is my third time being on your program. I'm so excited, and I appreciate you so much, Karen. Karen is one of my most favorite people in the whole world.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, basically, we're just going to do a quick little talk about who we are and what we do. And basically, I've been doing this pretty much all my life. You know, I studied it and I started doing tarot card readings. And when I did the readings, all of a sudden these messages would come through, you know, because before I did a reading for somebody, I would say a little prayer and, you know, put myself in a nice place and love and light and everything. And all of a sudden, you know, I put the cards out and everything. And then even though I knew what the cards meant, each card, sometimes I'd get a different message completely. And so it wasn't just, you know, what I knew, I was getting messages from the other side. And I didn't really understand it. I just knew my spirit guides and everything were helping out because some of the things I could not have come up with by myself because the information they gave me was so unique and so important, and you know it was related to that person that I was reading. But I've always loved this stuff, and it just gave me answers to my life that I've been looking for forever, you know. And then I studied reincarnation and everything, and then the big thing is I started doing fairs all the time. In the 80s and 90s, the fairs were real popular. And so I did a lot of fairs, El Paso, Albuquerque, you know, all over the place, Texas. And I just really loved it. You know, you find something in life that you can express who you are. And it's just a passion that you have to have in your life. You can't get enough of it. And when you feel like you're helping others and you're making a difference in their life, that's the most beautiful thing in the world. So I did, you know, later on I moved to, you know, I lived in Corpus Christi, had a shop and everything, and did readings on the radio and did some on TV and stuff, and had a store and did readings there. And I had like all kinds of stuff, metaphysical stuff. It was just a beautiful store. And so I had that for 8 years and then sold it and moved back to Albuquerque. And but the thing is, it was when I moved from Albuquerque to Phoenix that I really got into the mediumship. And that was like, wow, it's just, and it's something everybody can learn to do. So, you know, I met Dawn at Tina's classes and everything. And, you know, we just really clicked. You know, he's such the best friend you could ask for. And
I paid her
it
to
was
say
just,
that.
of course. Anyway, that's what we're leading up to. How we, you know, I did write a book, you know, and about all the different metaphysical tools you can learn and study, and how your life can be better, understanding who you are, and making this a better world. Because when you're happy, other people are happy. You know, it's got that domino effect. And so basically, we're going to talk about our latest book. So I'm going to let Dawn talk now.
Well, before you let Dawn talk, hold on a second, Dawn. I want to say something more about you. So Susan was one of the first person that I interviewed. And gosh, and I kept thinking, God, these people, these psychic mediums are so friendly. They're so nice. And Susan and I actually text each other every day. And good morning, and I love you, and we tell about what's going on is, you know, in our lives, and it's really nice. It
is. And you know, I feel like I wish she lived next door, but she lives in Oregon. I live in Phoenix, but we're like sisters.
We are. I'd be hanging out with you. Yeah, seriously.
We'd be getting in all kinds of stuff.
This is true. Yeah.
Thank you for having me on, Karen. I appreciate it.
You know, I love having you on. And Dawn, I love having you on too. And I'm going to say something about you after you introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, Don Rumer Rivera. I'm what you would call a accidental medium, I guess. I did not intend to go there. I did not intend this pathway. It was never what I had thought was coming for me. But, you know, life has a way of working things out, and so does spirit. And it directs you in times that you don't even understand until later when you look back. You're like, oh, okay, I see. I was being led this way all along. I was actually in I was in many different professions, a few different professions. I was in the engineering field initially, then I became an attorney. And at the same time, I was a real estate investor and a few other things along the way. And the real estate investing has been good because it gave me transition from all the different careers, which is nice. And of course, an income to allow me to explore. And then the law stuff is interesting, but the law stuff and the engineering stuff and the real estate stuff, it has one thread through it, is that people like us in the woo-woo world, as people consider it, they look at us and like, have you lost your mind? And to some we may have, but the reality is that as I look back, it's funny because I'd always had my foot in there, but I didn't talk about it much because, again, this community I was in, I'm like, you know, I'm a closeted metaphysical person. That's fine. And so I just kind of didn't talk much about it. But the family and friends, we went into this kind of stuff. And then eventually when I was freed up from the law and I'm like, you know what, I'm ready to live my own life. And then the closet burst open and the metaphysical came rolling out. And so that was a very next step in the progression. And I really started getting into it and opening up my mind more and more. But the one thing I kept saying is, I'm not a medium. I'm not a medium. I'm not a medium. I'm not a medium. And words, in my first book, which is The Ultimate Power Within, I teach about words and how words are very specific. And when you use them, they're power. And the power and the energy in the words can create the environment that you create. And I did that. I kept saying, I'm not a medium. And then yes, the spirit's like, yeah, you are. And they kept hitting me with mediumship. And at Tina's class and some other folks, you know, as we were developing it, it's like, man, it's coming through. I can't stop it. It's not for me to stop at this point, because again, it was meant for me to open up, and I did. And then I had one or two significant readings, mediumship readings, when I was not intending to have a mediumship read. And I was like, okay, if that's not a clear sign where when I'm not prepared to do it, when I was not looking for it, and yet it came to me, again, two very specific times. And those two times helped to deliver the message that they needed to hear. The person who was receiving it needed it so desperately. And again, I was like, okay, then I get the signal. I get the point. I see that it's healing. And it's actually consistent with the previous two, which is the law stuff. I counseled and I healed. I helped families heal and keep businesses heal from litigation. In that sense, you know, we help them through litigation, or even the engineering. I helped to resolve a problem, to fix a problem. And so it's interesting how, if you think about it, my careers have always kind of lined up in that way. But finally, this came to be, and that brings us up to how we got this book, how we got the desire to do this book. And we'll let you talk about the book first, Karen, and then we'll go there.
Okay, well, when I first met Don and he told me he was an engineer and an attorney, I thought, what the heck? That is not metaphysical at all. And then he changed. And it was such a surprise, Don, to hear that as your background and then to go into this. And I got to tell you, I've had readings from both of them, and they've both been very, very powerful. So let me tell you, Don wrote this book, The Ultimate Power Within. And that's all on affirmations. Really good book, because like he said, words are intentions. And what you say, you gotta be really careful with what you say. So he wrote this book initially, but he's got more he's done too. And then Susan, this is my little guidebook, Love Your Spiritual Gifts. And it's a wonderful book about all sorts of different things. I use candle magic. I use tarot. There's so many things I've gleaned from these books. So love them both. They are on my bookshelf. But the reason we're here is a book that they both decided to write. And it's called The Mediums, a guidebook. Isn't that gorgeous? The title? It's just beautiful. Oh, there, here we all have it.
So we're waiting for our shipment to come in. Ours is still the proof.
Well, I appreciate Dawn sending me this book. And
Yeah,
my
yes.
dad always told me when I read a book, don't dog ear it. And I'm going to show you my book here. I don't know if you can see, but can you see how dog eared it is?
Yeah.
I dog ear a book because I want to return to certain things. So why did you two decide to write this book together?
I think it's because we had so much information we wanted to share with others. And, you know, we were so excited about this, and he had ideas and I had ideas, and we thought, you know, let's get it together and put something out fantastic. And then he came up with these beautiful pictures. I just fell in love with all these pictures, and I thought it was great. I thought, why not? Let's do it. And it just flowed so easily. So I believe that we got a lot of help from the other side. Our angels and guides really wanted us to put this together because they're listed in the book too. It's all about them. So, yeah.
Can we take the flyer down for right now and save that for a little later, please?
Mhm.
There we go. There you go, Susan. I can concentrate on you more because I can see you.
And also, it's interesting. You know, I'm from Baltimore originally. I'm from Baltimore. I live in Arizona now. But I found out that there was going to be the International Spiritualist Federation's annual event is going to be in Baltimore. And I thought, what a perfect opportunity to go home, to return home. And so I figured I'm going to do this as well as an opportunity to be around metaphysically connected people who are embracing those gifts, whatever they might be. And also mediumship was going to be the focus of the event, which was, again, perfect because I was just really coming into the zenith. You know, I'm just like, it was a zenith. I mean, and once I really committed myself to mediumship, you know, it was taking off. And so I said, I need this as a part of that next step. And so by going, Susan and I wound up actually taking, it was a week-long thing, and there was morning class and an afternoon class. And then on one of the days, it was a whole day of other instruction, and you can pick what you wanted. And she and I wound up in the same two classes. And I thought, well, that's kind of kismet. And we know each other already, and we already practice and you know, and have spent so much time. But I thought, how wonderful. And then we share this experience with these classes. And I watched all these different mediums come together and see each of their gifts. And the one fascinating thing about it, Karen, is that everybody thinks a medium is the same. You know, we're all the same in that sense. And if you haven't seen them, you're just thinking we're all sitting there and going, whatever. And it's fascinating when you have a chance to see a card reader, when you have a chance to see an astrologer, when you have a chance to see a psychic, or when you have a chance to see a medium. The fascinating part is everyone's different. If you watch Tyler Henry, which is the Hollywood medium, or you watch the Long Island medium, Teresa, or you watch actual John Edwards and other mediums who are known as mediums but not as personalities, each of them do it differently, and they're all very good at it. But again, they come at it from different ways. And so the cool part, when I saw that, I thought there's a message here. There's a message here that needs to be delivered to other folks to understand that we're all not the same, that everybody receives differently in our clairs. And more importantly, we need to reach out and educate people, because the one thing we both found is that when we looked in our own book collections and we looked in collections at bookstores and everywhere else, there are very few books on mediums. There's tons of books on tarot. You can find everybody and anybody who's written a book on tarot. You can find everybody and anybody who's written a book in astrology. But when I started looking for more information to better understand mediumship, we found a bit of a brick wall. And we said, you know what? We need to make it accessible. And so Susan and I, we started chatting, we're talking about it, we're like, let's do this. And then we jumped right in. That's kind of how we got going.
And that's one reason why we wrote this book. We wanted people to understand they can do it. They can do it in their own unique way, because we're, like Dawn says, we're all different. You know, we all have our own gifts and everything, and there's different ways of doing it, whether you're sketching away like Tyler Henry, or you're just standing up there and calling into the audience like John Edward, everybody's different. And that's what this book is about, is to find your own unique way of developing your mediumship, developing your talents, trusting your gifts. We teach you, like even when people do mediumship, there's what we call the clears. There's way of getting messages, and we all get messages differently. Like I see, when I look at a person, I can see, like, it's like watching a movie. I can see things going on and people and the spirit that's coming through, what they look like and everything, and their personality. Where somebody else might hear songs, or they may taste something like, oh, I taste your grandmother's cookies. Your grandmother's here. There's just all kinds of ways to develop your gifts, and we're all unique. And that's what we want everybody to do, to realize that they don't have to do it a certain way, because a lot of mediumship books are about the mediums themselves. They don't really tell you how they do it. They may explain how they do it, but it's a wide open field. You find the way that works for you. And the main thing, as long as you're able to bring that spirit through to the sitter, to the person that you're the recipient, and you're giving them a message, you're explaining them to that sitter who the spirit is, in enough evidence so they can recognize and identify who it is.
Right.
And then at the end, you give them a message from that spirit. The only reason the spirits come through is because they have a message for you.
And they want to give you that message.
Yeah, I think we put the cart before the horse, only in the sense I jumped. My fault. And that is for those folks who don't understand what mediumship is, or maybe has a nebulous
that's a good idea.
Let me kind of give you a quick overview of what mediumship is. And therefore and the reason why I say that again is because vocabulary is important, and you have to understand. So for this, specifically for this conversation, I'll explain what mediumship is, and it should fit with everybody, but most importantly, understanding what we're conversing about here. And that is, mediumship is the connection between the three different entities. There's the person who is the sitter, who's being read for. There's the reader, and who is the medium. And then there is the spirit on the other side, who is wanting to come through. And so the medium then picks up the information from the spirit on the other side, who then delivers it to the medium. The medium is the translator. The medium is the operator. For the old folks who understood operators way back when, we are the operators. It comes through us, and then we connect it. In other words, we deliver it, and we receive it in different ways, depending on, again, the clairs that Susan spoke of. And then we relate how we receive it and how we're getting it and what we believe it means, because, again, sometimes it's not clear. The thing is that when we are done, when you've had your mediumship read, the thing, an ethical reading will deliver to you from the other side a confirmation that there is life beyond physical death, that you have received evidential information that determines that the person who gave you, again, who you're reading for, they know that you must be talking about their loved one, because you give them specific things that you would not have known otherwise, could not have known otherwise. And therefore, at the end of the evidential information, which again is information giving you confidence that what you as a sitter is receiving to be truly that person whom the reader says is there, and then ultimately the message that they wanted to deliver. Because again, spirit, when they come in, they most of the times, and I'm stretching that, but not saying all the times, because I'm sure but they come in with a message, and that's why they are there. Often they will bring you, the sitter, to the event or to the situation to ensure, because they know that somebody there is going to be able to pick their energy up and then deliver it to you. So more often than not, you may think you think you had the plan to go to see a medium. No, the energies above, the spirits around you told you need to go there. They put it up in front of you because it flashed on a computer screen or something else, or a friend told them. The point is that when you go, you were drawn there. The medium then delivers the message you need to hear. And then you have now a confirmation that the loved ones are always with us and will always be with us continuously. They did not die only a physical death. They did not die a continuous death, and therefore they're here with us. And I think that's if I miss something about what mediumship is, please join in. But I think that I've covered it pretty well there.
Yeah.
I
And
think
it's a healing. It's a healing. The reading is a healing for you to know that your loved ones are still around you. They're always around you. Just because we can't see them, they're still there. And so in our book, we explain how to get to that point, how to raise your vibration, how to meet the other side, because we have to raise our vibration and they have to lower theirs so we can connect, we can blend together. But we teach all that in the book. So that you shouldn't feel like you can't do it. You can do it if it's something you really want to do and develop.
Well, I know a lot of people in my audience want to learn how to do this, and having a guidebook to let you know that there's not one way how to do it, because I have experienced what Dawn was talking about, having someone do, or maybe it was you, Susan, I don't know, about doing the drawings and the writings and different ways. And so it's different ways of receiving that message. And actually, you guys are the same but different when you deliver your mediumship readings too.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. With me, I am blessed / cursed. It depends on how you want to see it. I am blessed / cursed because I have my own climate. And what I mean by that is I have personal summers and personal winters. It depends on which spirit comes in. If an older female comes in, or middle-aged older female, I will feel instantaneous or cold. So it is very uncomfortable sometimes because like I'm freezing and yet it's 74, 75 degrees. If it is a male, being of any age male, or sometimes a younger female, I will pick up heat. And it's funny because when people watch me, they'll see me flush from the heat because my physical body feels the heat so much so that you'll see me flush red from the actual heat that I'm getting generated by having the spirit there. So when I feel the heat, when I feel the cold, that is not specific to that room. I'm like, okay. And then I do the scan. Who doesn't belong? And I'm looking to see if somebody is there physically in my mind, but not in their minds. Or then I also kind of open my perception to say, give me the information I need to hear. Because even though I do from time to time actually see an energy and they're sitting right there, standing right there. A young boy who was about 12, 13 showed up right beside his mom for a reading, and we had a conversation about that, and they needed to hear the message. A woman sitting in the airport, her mother was sitting right beside her. My temperature dropped and I'm freezing. I'm like, oh Lord, this is real. And there she was, so when you, I'm sorry.
I want you to tell that story.
It's unbelievable. It's so incredible.
That story is incredible.
The airport story?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the cool part too, and I will tell it real quick, but the cool part is it is our opening chapter. Because when we talked about the book, and I said, we need to connect in a way that people can understand. And if you don't mind, I'd like to show an image from that too. And that is
okay. It's okay if we share this. I want to make sure that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Susan and I own the copyrights of all this, so we're good.
I know, but I don't want to steal your thunder by having you tell about it now.
This is the image. Now, in reality, I'm going to explain this, but this is the image we created to help us introduce this chapter. But this is actually kind of an introduction to mediumship. And what happened is I was flying to Philadelphia. I don't fly to Philadelphia often. I fly usually to either New York or to Baltimore, DC. This is a first for me. So I went into Denver, which is most often for me if I'm headed East Coast, because I have United. I go through either Houston or Denver. And so when I go through Denver, I always have this many minutes to get between one terminal to another, because that's never the same terminal. And I am rushing and I just get in time to get seated at the plane and so forth. And on this day, I had the good fortune of landing and then just having to walk across the aisle to another gate. And I thought, this never happens. And I had 1 hour and 35 minutes. I had a long layover. For me, that's a long layover, especially in Denver. So I'm like, what do I do with this? I don't even know what to do. And sometimes I go to the Amex lounge, but this time I'm like, no, you know what? I'm just going to chill. So I walked across, sat down, and I just kind of sat down, got situated, looked around and kind of scanned. And I saw this woman, like I showed in the picture, an older woman sitting beside a younger woman, the younger woman on her phone, just this way. And it's like when you travel, two people sitting there that they don't pay attention to each other. And so nothing paid attention to me. And so the young woman sitting on her phone. And then I looked down and all of a sudden freeze. I'm getting the cold. And I'm like, Okay, I know what that means. So I look up and I'm looking over to the woman and I realize she's not there. And I'm like, oh Lord. And so I just kind of, and she looks at me like, yeah, you got me. So the spirit clocks me, right? The clear, she's like, you got me. And I'm like, oh, hi. And I'm like, and so we're talking, of course, not through here. We're talking through here. And she's like, I need you to talk to my daughter. And I'm like, hey, no, we ain't doing that. And she's like, I really want you to talk to my daughter. I'm like, I don't do this. I am not the Hollywood psychic. I'm not Teresa Caputo. I don't walk up the pit. No, I don't do this. It's a rule. And so, but she was insistent. She really was. And so finally, I told her, I said, if you get your daughter to acknowledge me, then I'll go ahead and do this. And within seconds, I would say 15, 20 at most seconds, the daughter looks up to me and just does one of those nods. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do this because it's uncomfortable. Not because I didn't want to do the reading. I would love to do the reading, but mediums, if they're very concerned and ethical mediums, they're not going around imposing their mediumship on people. It's just not what you do. I'm not saying you don't want to read for them. You do. But
I would love someone to do that to me. Just come up.
But that's not always the people and so forth. And that well, anyways, I'll just explain another situation, but I won't go there. Let me go back here. Let me stay focused. I know, focus. So what happened is
full of tangents. We know that.
I know I'm terrible at that. So I'm trying to stay focused. So what happened is I said, okay. So I acknowledged her back and I said, hi. I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to mention that I am a medium. And if you're okay with it, I think I have a message for you. And she was good with it. She's like, yeah, that sounds good. I'm good with that. And I said, okay. And I said, there's a woman sitting beside you, and she's letting me know she's your mother. And she's showing with her hair pulled back and like a little bit of a bun situation. She has gray running through it. She's smaller, more demure. She has this brooch. There's a chain with the little cross brooch thing and whatever. Anyway, so I'm giving her specific evidential information. Again, back to evidence, evidential information that it was very clear it was her. Again, I'm talking a very thin woman, whatever, and so forth. And so I gave her that, and I gave her one other piece of information that was very unique. And she's like, yep, that's my mom. And I said, okay, well, now that I've said that, the one thing about this is I want you to know that she wants you to know she's okay and she loves you. And she goes, well, I appreciate that. And then, dun, 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 she says, my mom's not on the other side. Well, I could just feel the blood rush out of me. And I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, okay, Spirit, what the heck? Are you giving me a new gift here? Are you doing something? Someone's messing with me? She goes, no, I appreciate it. But, again, she's not. And I'm like, oh man. So now I'm like, okay, I'm really upset. This is why I don't do this. And I'm like, I'm arguing with myself. Well, also Mother Nature has a way of making me, when I get cold, Mother Nature says, you got to take care of some business. And so I went and took care of my business. And as I came back, because again, the cold had passed when Mom left, after she delivered a message, by the way, she lived. And so as I come back toward the seat, I see she's in tears. And now I'm thinking, oh, come on, this is why I don't do this. And
you made her cry, Dawn.
I made her cry. And I'm like, I don't want to do this because I wouldn't want to upset her. And as I sit down, I look, are you okay? She goes, oh, yes. She said, I want to thank you. You've given me the best gift I could ever get. And I said, what's that? And she goes, I just got the call that my mother had passed. The mother had passed that she was not aware of. And the mother needed her to know what was coming. And therefore she was buffered to a degree. I was blown away. I think I was even more, because of how that happened, it was even more of a like a, what is this? I'm like, whiplash, because I'm going from being happy then to be frustrated and sad and irritated to back to, thank goodness I was able to give her the message she needed to hear. So if you all have a chance, I would invite you to go to Sonoran, the desert we live in, Mystic Tarot on YouTube, and you will see the actual image, because the video of me, because I did a short on it. I went right out, and Terminal A in Denver has a patio. So I went out right out to the patio, and I'm like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. I had so much crazy energy. And so I recorded it and then posted it to make sure that it was out there before I could have a chance to analyze it and overwork it, because I didn't want to do that. And so it is out there. So if you want to see the actual reaction when it happened, Sonoran Mystic Tarot on YouTube, and you'll see the short where I am flustered in the fact of what just happened. But that woman needed to hear it.
Is there a title on that video that they should look for?
Maybe Denver Airport or something. I'm not sure. It's a short, not the videos. It's under a short.
I'm going to tell you, Dawn sent that to me, and Dawn, you were humble and so thankful for that message that you could deliver. It was wonderful. And I don't know what you guys got going on here, but I am freezing over here, and my dogs won't be quiet. So there's a lot of spirits involved in all of this today.
I'm sure. When is your husband?
Oh, that guy's he's
always around you.
Yeah, but I am freezing.
Yeah. My fingers are frozen right now.
Yeah, so you guys got it going on. I lost my train of thought. I like that you mentioned the clairs, because people don't know, well, what clair am I and how do I use that? And I think we have the ability for all those clairs, but some are stronger than others. And Dawn, you were able to see. You're able to see, so that's good. Yeah. There's
the clair for hearing. There's the clair for sight. There's a clair for smell, for taste, for all of them. And in the book, actually, that's the one chapter specifically I left over to Susan. So I'm going to let Susan go into that, because I said, Susan, will you do the clairs for me? Because she really did a great job in the previous book that she wrote on clairs. And so I thought it was important that she handled that chapter.
Okay, so Susan, I want you to tell about the clairs, but I also want you to define the difference between psychic and medium.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
That's not clairs, though. That's a very different energy, and we'll go into that. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that.
Well, as far as the clairs, I would say that I am a clairvoyant, because I see pictures. I see, if I focus on somebody, I can see that somebody around them and describe them. But I also I'm claircognizance, because I know what I'm seeing. I just know it. I don't know why. I just know it. I know something about that person. But the clairs are very powerful. But, there are some people that have really strong, some people hear music all the time, and they, and the spirits are around us. I mean, how often do you hear your name called and it sounds just like your mother that's passed? And because it's her way of saying, hey, I'm around you. Or you see somebody's name on you're driving by and you see a name on a truck and you say, wow, that's my aunt's name, And, they're around us all the time, and they're always giving us hints, and they're always giving us signs, but we have to be aware of it. Or sometimes we hear a song that we haven't heard in like 10 years, and it's your favorite dad song, but they're around us. And so the clairs, in the book, we explain the clairs and the different ways that they come through. It just helps us. When you're receiving information from the spirit, your guides are going to give you information that you will understand. Like, we have, everybody has a toolbox. Like, for instance, if you are a nurse or you're a doctor, you'd be more familiar with those tools. Right. And, so the spirits, when they come through, they try to give you a name, a word, a symbol of something that you would recognize that means something to you. And so we have that, signs and symbols. We have the clairs. There's all kinds of ways to help you get messages.
The thing is to be open to the messages. Right. And what happens, Karen, is over time, for many reasons, a lot of times it's more social than anything else, is that we are told as children that imaginary playmate, they're not real, and you're don't do that, you're crazy, or people think you're crazy, or you'll feel something or say something, and again, they always attribute it to something that makes them feel a little more comfortable because it fits their paradigm of what maybe their religious teaching is, or their environmental teaching is, and so forth. And the reality is, sometimes when you hear voices, you are hearing voices. I mean, hello. And so, you can, I was like, hello, but then sometimes, it's a whole different situation. But the point is that we train ourselves because and let me explain this clearly, that I always argue this point, that there's people and there's spirits and mediums live somewhere in between. It's a very, very finessed area. And so in that finessed area is where you receive the feel of energy, where somebody rubs against you, a spirit rubs against you, and you're like, ooh, okay. Or they touch you in a certain way and hug, and you get that hug and you're like, oh, I know that's not just coincidence. That's a hug, and I know where that's coming from. Or you smell your grandmother's cookies, as Susan said, or you taste your grandmother's cooking, or you hear things. And again, you're a lot of times you're told, oh, that's just wind, that's just this, that's just that, that's whatever. When you start learning to appreciate the gifts you already have built in you, we all have them. When you start learning to appreciate them and open up the energies to say, you know what, let me live in the finesse. Let me live in that finesse land where I do now pay attention to the little things. Those little things become on loudspeakers. They really do get amplified. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I've been getting this all along. And it's amazing how once you do open up to that, those clairs are very consistent and very real. But the interesting thing is, no matter what mediums I've met, or even the mediums that we've worked with individually, those mediums, they have a mixture of clairs often. So sometimes they get the sight, sometimes they get the knowledge, claircognizance, sometimes they get the visions, and sometimes here. You never know how it's going to be received. You never know for what reason it came in that way. But as long as you're opened up and you're ready to receive the information, then it'll come through to you and you'll be able to deliver it. Now, the one thing that's very clear is that sometimes it's that translation of, okay, I've received this. And I'll give you an example. And this is why practicing mediumship is super important, because say I receive information and so the spirit's showing me this horse. And they're showing me this beautiful horse, and say it's a paint horse, right? Which is the brown and white, and it's a paint horse. And for some reason, I'm getting the paint horse for this person, and they're trying to help me with the paint horse. And I'm thinking, okay, they're showing me a horse, a paint horse. Did you used to own a paint horse? No, don't know what that is. Okay. And then I come back with one more thing, and then I find that, oh, wait a minute, what they were showing me wasn't the paint horse, but it was the lifestyle of a horse owner. And then like, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I remember when I was a kid, this is whatever. But so sometimes understanding what we're getting, it takes a little bit of tweaking, but we get there because, again, the message was specific. It's just having us to figure out what the specific means.
Right. And that's your job to do that.
Yes. And that's that toolbox that Susan was talking about. We use that toolbox. We learn to put those images into a box and say, okay, every time I get this is what this means. And again, when I get freezing cold, that's a woman, an older woman, and it has not failed me. And the rest, when I get warm, has not failed me. So again, that's part of my toolbox. As soon as I get it, I'm like, okay, who's here? Who's here? And when I do my show on Wednesday nights, even though we do tarot readings and psychic readings, oh, sure enough, the people will come in and I'm like, somebody's right here, and I'm getting this because they come in with energy of, again, a physicality for me, and then they start talking. So the cool part is that if you hone your skills and you open yourself up, which is what the mediumship training does for you, it helps you to open up and don't take for granted anything that's happening, because that's happening for a reason. You just have over time said to yourself, that's not important because it means nothing to me. Oh, when you're a medium, everything means something
Everything
to you.
is.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone the other day before the interview, and the gentleman was telling me something about my husband, and I'm going, no, I'm not really getting it. I'm not really getting it. I don't. And then he kept talking, and then and it just didn't register right away, but eventually it did. I'm trying to keep my dogs quiet. I really am.
It's good.
We love them. We love them.
Gosh. And then, so sometimes it might not make sense at the time, but it'll come to you later.
Yeah, we call that psychic amnesia, where, you can't, somebody asks you a question, you say, no, I can't take that. And then a week later you think, oh yeah, that was my Uncle Harry, And there are certain ways you can develop your skills, like psychometry. We talked about that in my other book, how you can hold an object or look at a photo of a person that's passed, and you'll get impressions, you'll get feelings, because that's something that was owned by that person that passed, so that they leave their imprint on it. Or you can try automatic writing. You know, you can try contact.
All sorts of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I'll give you an example, an exact example of what you just said, though, Karen. And that is that we were Angie, who does my Wednesday nights with me. She and I were reading for a woman, and this energy came in, and it was from her husband, and he was talking and telling her Rose, and I got Rose first, right? Because again, when he came in, he talked to me initially, and so we're talking about Rose. And this is also on Sonora and Mystic Tarot. If you look on videos, you'll find it. Because anyway, so we're talking about Rose, and I'm like, no, he's saying Rose, a name. And she's like, no, I don't know, my flower. I'm like, no, it's really a name. And I told her about 3 kids. And I said, I'm seeing 3 kids like separated though. This one, and then this one, and then this one. And she's like, no, I only have 2. I have a daughter and a son. And I'm like, okay, but I see 2 kids living with you, but I see 3 kids. And she's like, no. And so as we get to the end, that's when she realizes, and also Angie was telling her about the Rose as well, and a message from her husband. About a week later, we get a message. Oh, I forgot. My granddaughter, who is my daughter's child, I'm raising her. So she was the 3rd child. The daughter wasn't living with them, but the son and the grandchild was living with her. So that's the 2 kids. But in her mind, she was focused on what in her
Just
head.
her biological.
Exactly. And then so she had to, and she's like, wait a minute. And guess what the granddaughter's name was? Rose.
Rose.
Yes. And not so much that only, but then she remembered she has a tattoo here, which is what her husband told her, which Angie told her. It's a rose. I love you. And Angie was telling, but she, in the moment, it wasn't as though she was being obstinate. It just, in the moment, her mind was thinking otherwise. And so sometimes when a medium gives you information, take it, let it resonate, let it marinate for a while. And then when you're out of the moment and your mind is broader, because again, you were thinking, I want this reading. You don't always get this reading. When a medium's reading for you, a medium's giving you the spirit that comes in. They're not giving you the spirit necessarily you want to come in, because they can't control those spirits. We are not magic. We don't tell somebody, some energy on the other side to come in. We hope that they'll come in for you, but we cannot do that, nor any medium. And so if you ever think that that's the case, they cannot. At least I've never found one that really can. But so we take whatever comes in, whoever comes in, whatever energy comes in, and we share that with the people. And there are often many, many times where the person we were hoping would come in does come in. But there are many times where it doesn't happen that way too, which leads us to one more point. And that is when we're getting this information about Rose, we're getting, and again, I kept getting Rose as a name, not as whatever, and about the kids. And so sure enough, and the message wasn't clear. It was about the oldest daughter, and there was a whole drama around that we weren't supposed to know, but we gave the message, and then it fit in because she typed us and sent us later again, about a week later. But it was interesting because we had to be careful, because this is something you mentioned earlier. And so I'm bringing back around to that. We had to be careful with the information we're receiving, because we had to make sure we were giving her mediumship information, even though we were doing psychic readings. Once the psychic turned off, the energy is very different when a mediumship reading happens. An energy feeling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, with mediumship information.
About that.
Oh, it's extremely exciting, because when you feel it, again, you feel a stronger, more vibrational energy. It's at a higher, you have to raise your vibration up. So because this is where spirit is, and you feel a stronger, more vibrational energy. You feel you feel even connection. You even feel like, you can feel like there's a connection here. It's fascinating, but it's not just flashes. It's more. It's empowered energy. It's more reasonable, more, and again, more importantly, it's not your thinking. This is the key: is that when you're doing a psychic hit, you see, oh, I see a painted horse. Well, a painted horse in psychic is just again a symbol. But if I'm getting information in a way I wouldn't collect it. I'm getting information even in phrases I would not say, or experiences I had not had. And therefore, they cannot be mine, because again, I wouldn't speak that way. I don't think that way. And I would not even deliver something that way. And that's when I know, because of that amount of energy, and because those things are never part of my world, they must be mediumship. And then when I deliver them, and they're like, oh, yes. And even when you say certain things, because I'll say, I don't say this, so I'm being told to say it this way specifically. And boy, I tell you what, that lands every time, because again, spirit, that's one of the evidential things, is they use certain phrases because they know that will work. And there was a gentleman in Susan's class one day whom I told him what his grandfather used to call him at the end of the reading before I gave him his message. And at that point, he's like, holy crap, no one knows that. And he's not even from this country. He's from another country. And so I've never told anybody that. No one knows that. But the grandfather needed him to believe that this was the case. And the guy was already there, but it's like the grandfather put icing on the cake. He's like, call him this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I did. And sure enough, the guy's eyes like, wah, 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 wah.
So just to simplify things, a psychic reading, you go to a psychic and you have a reading, they're going to tell you, they read your aura, okay? They're going to tell you about the past. They may tell you present. They may tell you about the future. But they're telling you something like, oh, you ought to take these dancing lessons. Whereas if it was a mediumship reading, you're dealing with a spirit from the other side. You're dealing with somebody with a message. That spirit might come through and say, it's your father, and he remembers you when you were 5 years old. You used to take ballet, and you had the cute little pink slippers and the pink tutu. It's more specific. So there is a difference in psychic readings and mediumship readings.
Are you raising the vibration higher when you're in a psychic?
No, I always get help from the other side, but I don't go through that whole. Yeah. You have to really raise your vibration to meet theirs. Yeah.
Okay.
And if I could add one more thing, and that is that's why the psychic energy doesn't have to be at that vibrational level, because the psychic energy is picking up the energy around the individual that's already sitting in front of you. And so you're picking up their energy field, their auric field, and that's where you're getting your information from. You're not getting it. Now, sometimes your spirit guides will come in and help you, which is wonderful when they can. That's called intuitive readings. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you can pick up the energy directly from the person because they're emanating. They want to be read so much, and they have so much information to give. So again, that's a lower level of energy. When you talk to a spirit, because their energy is up here, you have to raise up here. And so it does require a stronger, more heightened frequency of energy than does a psychic read.
Okay, got it. Is there anything else, because we're going to wrap it up and we want to talk about one more thing. Is there anything else you'd like to, that I didn't cover, that we didn't cover?
The book is in 2 languages. It's in Spanish and in English. So this is very unusual for a metaphysical book to break that rule, but we decided we were going to do it because I live in a bilingual family and it's important. And we're raising our grandson to do this as well. So bilingual, this is cool. So if you speak Spanish, or if you speak Spanish primarily and you're watching this and you would rather read it because it's easier to read in Spanish, we got Spanish or we have English. And so, and the cool part is you have options.
And we are going to do it audiobook too, because I have a lot of friends that have a hard time seeing. So,
yes.
I also want to ask you, if people reach out to you, are you cool with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I didn't want to offer it up if that wasn't something that you wanted to do. Okay. Well, you guys have something going on in the near future. And so we're going to bring that flyer up and tell us about that a little bit. What's happening with you guys?
Susan?
Well, I teach mediumship class once a month at the Rising Phoenix Spiritualist Church, and that's here in Phoenix. And so I just teach it once a month, but the congregation and everything really wants us to have a mediumship workshop. So we're going to have a mediumship workshop the end of February 28th, and that's going to be an all-day thing. And there will be a minimal cost. It's not that much, and it will include our book too, because we'll be saying, okay, let's talk about this chapter here. Be specific. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And
I know.
I both like to talk.
Yeah, no, the energy is going to be up. It's going to be positive, and they get the book too.
Yes, to
Exactly.
get the book
And
read.
we'll be doing book signings around the Phoenix area for now. And who knows if we go into other cities. But if you're in the Phoenix area and you like to look for where we are with the book, excuse me, with the book signing, it'll be on both Susan and my website as we update that information. Or you can reach out to us and we'll tell you where we can do it. Or if you'd like to order a book, they're on Amazon as you speak. But if you want to order a book with a signed autograph copy, reach out to one of us and we'll sell you a book personally instead
And
of
Karen got the first book we received. Well,
yes.
Dawn bought it just for Karen.
And look, it's signed by both of them.
Yeah.
Signed by both of them. How
You're
cool is
special,
that?
Karen, and we love you.
Well, I love you guys too.
Mm.
You know I do. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the channel. It was fun
Thank
talking to
you.
both of you. It really
Thank
was.
you. It
Thank you.
was
Thank
fun.
you. We appreciate the opportunity.
We really
And
do.
also, if anybody wants to learn and grow your psychic abilities or your mediumship abilities, we have a free session. It's a group session on Tuesday nights. Reach out to Susan or I. We'll send you the link. And anybody from all over, it's a Zoom link. And they can come in and be part of our group for 2 hours every week. And it's every Tuesday, a standing situation. But you get to practice amongst people whom have no judgment and have love, light, and blessings only. So you are in a community. If you're in a small community where you can't find somebody or some organization to do it, come join us. Everybody is welcome. And guess what? It's free 99. It doesn't cost you a penny.
And everybody is so
in this day and age.
supportive.
Yes, everybody is
so
extremely
supportive.
supportive. And we're all different levels. So if you're a beginner, we have beginners. If you are intermediate, we have those. Advanced, you name it, we have them. And nobody looks down on the other because we're all raising each other up. But the one thing I can stress to you, one more thing, is that when you have that many psychics or people who are trying to grow their psychic and mediumship skills, they become an antenna. And so the energy is even more heightened. And therefore, it's easier for the beginners to do this because they are getting all this energy being drawn in by the group as a collective. And therefore, it's amazing how we have some people who've been here just a few weeks and all of a sudden they're like, wow, I can't believe I'm getting this right and this right and this right. It's amazing.
So that's every Tuesday you have
every Tuesday evening. Yeah. And if everybody wants
Psychic Squad.
Yep. And so if you send either Susan or myself a message or send it to Karen, she'll forward it. We can send you the link and then you can use that same link. Come in when you want, leave when you want. If you don't want to go this Tuesday, but tonight, it doesn't matter. We're very open about that. We're very comfortable. Come when you want. Don't
One
come
thing, one thing we do stress though, if to be a good medium or to be a good psychic, you have to practice. You have to have different people all the time to read. Because, you know, if you have a little circle of 8 people and you have the same people every week, you know, how many spirits you're going to bring in?
Yeah.
You know, how many different spirits? You know, oh, your Uncle Al is here again. They got the same message. So practice makes
can I
perfect.
come in my jammies?
Of course you can.
Come as you are. Come as you are.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Karen. We love you.
I don't know what you did to my dogs.
Your little puppies.
Okay.
Thank
Complete
you.
love to
Thank you,
both of you.
Kelly.
Okay. Thank you.